All right, welcome to Football the Pod, Season 4, Episode 10. I hope our little fantasy life was able to provide you some minor solace this Sunday and Monday after that crushing Blue Jays loss. And, for those who lost, there's always time for more salt in the wound. My team made me feel a smidge better at least, which means I'm pumped up and full of energy for the pod. And we've got a big one for you. He promised to come back on the pod after complimenting our league draft skills back on episode 2 before the season started. And now he's back to see how his predictions held up. I'm recording early morning, 7 a.m. on this Tuesday for a reason. That's because you already see him right here. We're back welcoming onto the pod our incredibly special guest, Adam Murf, Murfit of 5 Yard Rush. Murf, how's it going, my friend?
Oh man, I'm so glad you actually took me up on the offer to come. You'd be amazed, right? I do a couple of these, not many, and I say, "Oh yeah, bring me on mid-season," and they never do. And you did, man, and fair play to you. You chased me down because it was a busy little time for me. But man, I'm so pumped to do this. These are like my favorite types of shows to do. Right? We're just doing something actionable. We're looking at teams. We're seeing what we can do. Like, it's the process and how we get there. So yeah, man, I'm pumped for this because I'm invested in your league now. Having done like promo like the last 3 years of like how things are doing, it's a stock check for me. Like, how was my predictions? Because and see how I'm tracking the teams I thought would do well versus the teams that haven't. So yeah, mate, I love it. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no, I mean, thanks for taking up me on the offer. I mean, as soon as you said that live on the pod, I was surprised, and so that means I'm following through. So you know, I tend to always follow through. So yeah,
you do, man.
And
I
you do
love
too.
it.
You always come through. I really appreciate it. So yeah, we're so glad to have you back. And just a little foreshadowing, but I think some of your predictions have held up well so far. But we'll get into that. Before we get into that in our full episode, we're gonna do something a little bit different to kick off the show. So for the first time ever, it's time for Just a Tip with 5 Yard Rush Murf.
Oh man, I hear this and I'm like, yeah, okay, this is going to be big. My tip for everyone here is to look at running back touches, okay, and more importantly, who is getting touches. So typically in an NFL season, a running back, there are probably about 7 or 8 running backs that get to 300 or plus touches. So that's combined receptions and rushes. We're currently on pace for 17 players to hit that mark, and that's not sustainable, right? So have a look at the players, and I'm not going to list them all. I'm going to make you do some research, right?
Yeah.
See who's really buying in, right? But the reason it's important is it's going to highlight 2 things. One, potential injury at the position, right? Players that are getting overloaded, that many touches, that many hits equals a greater opportunity of getting injured, being in that red zone. But the second is, when you're looking at players who are on playoff teams, they think, oh, X player has had significant workload. Maybe we're going to start transitioning some of that workload off. Players in that category, this I will share. Keep an eye on the likes of Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs. They're kind of the 4. Maybe you can add Barkley in there. They're kind of the 4 or 5 players I would be looking at right now, maybe even a Christian McCaffrey to a certain point, where their production could dip off in the fantasy playoffs. And we see this every year because their touch rate's so high, and they're thinking we're on track for the playoffs. If they haven't got much to play for, they might just start winding that in and keeping their asset for the playoffs. So good indicator of potential injury, good indicator of potential drop-off. Make sure you keep an eye on that, look at the names, and think about the handcuffs, getting proactive ahead of that, and then more importantly, thinking about how you can offset that production with other players in your lineup, trades, waiver wire, etc. That's my tip.
Unreal. And that was just a tip with 5 Yard Rush Murf. I love it. Not one I have covered in 3 years since starting Just a Tip. So this is the 4th year of the show. So excellent tip. I mean, that has me worried in those leagues where I've got those players, but absolutely makes sense. You got to save your players for the playoffs. So, all right, fantastic. And that means we also have you here for one other recurring segment. Luckily, we've got the opportunity to do it. That is our trade analyzer. So I'd love for you to weigh in on the one trade we had in the league last week. That was sending. In fact, I will let you know that this was me involved in the trade. It was offered to me Christian Watson, me giving up Christian Watson, Isaiah Davis, and Kamani Vidal. That's Christian Watson, the wide receiver on Green Bay Packers who just came back from injury. Isaiah Davis, the backup running back on the New York Jets, and Kamani Vidal, the new starting running back on the Chargers, at least while Marion Hampton is out, in exchange to Aaron's team, that one particular Harbaugh, for Darnell Mooney and Bucky Irving. Murph, what do you think of this trade?
Do you know what? It's nice to see an even trade. And I think I can see the logic. When I look at the lineups and your rosters, I see the logic from both sides. I can see that one particular Harbaugh, which I think is Aaron Wright, he has a need to bring some bodies in now. He's had a few sort of injuries. He's just trying to package through because he's lost Garrett Wilson. He's just lost Tucker Kraft. I mean, that would have happened. This trade would have happened before, but actually, it's kind of made it more prominent that
now makes Watson better. That's right. Yeah.
Right, but on top of that, he's kind of looked at what he's got, and I looked at his existing bench thinking, I'm just a little short. I need a bit of depth, and he's probably a little concerned of what happens to Bucky Irving. So he's like, I'll take some predictability now. I've got some guys who I know are going to come back and fire, but I need to get through the next few weeks and cement my position in the league and offset some of that injury risk and put Bucky Irving away. And I like it for you because Bucky Irving is a potential, top 10 running back. Darnell Mooney, he has some production value, and the way that you have a lot of depth, but perhaps lack like an extra star piece, which I think that gives you. So it's kind of one of those trades that really does work for both sides. Like, I can't be critical of either side. I can't say, I don't think there's a natural winner. I would say in the long run, you're probably the winner, because if Bucky Irving plays week 10 onwards, you would argue that he will generate more points than the three players that you've traded away combined. And you probably won't use Darnell Mooney.
Right.
But he needs the points now, and he can't wait. So actually, if those points generate a couple of wins, then actually that offsets what could have happened. So I think that works really well. And so it makes sense. It probably wasn't an easy trade to offer, but I think he's seen the bigger picture when making a trade like this. And so big fan. I like it. I like it for both sides. I get it. That context, I think, if you looked at this on the surface, would be lost. That I've seen the rosters and I could see through the noise. I think if you don't see that, you just see that in a chat or it's posted on X, you'd be like, that's wild.
Yeah.
But I put it together. I did a bit of time. I looked at it. I think it makes sense. I think it's a good trade.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, there doesn't have to be a winner and loser in every trade, right? There should be two winners in every trade. Those are the trades that you want to be offering, and those are the ones that don't get accepted.
100. I'll give you an example, right? So here's a real-life NFL example of a win-win trade, right? People are looking at the Cowboys, and they're going like, why have they just sent a sixth to the Bengals for Logan Wilson, who's been benched for a rookie? And has got
an trade last night,
who's got an expensive contract. Like, how does that work? And everyone looks on the surface and this goes, well, that's a win for the Bengals, right? They get this player who's not even playing. They get his contract off the books. They get a pick, but the picks are relevant. Ultimately, it's they get the cash off the books, which is the most important.
Yeah.
But for the Cowboys, they get a piece. The reason he's been dropped is he doesn't fit the scheme of the defensive coordinator. And actually, that defense is terrible. Have you seen how many points they've given up to tight ends and running backs this season? So,
yeah.
and I actually think Logan Wilson will be a good fit in that Cowboys scheme. He's not a sideline to sideline guy. He doesn't have speed, but he is a good fundamentals guy. He's a good tackler. He's got good fundamental technique. And there's a reason why the Bengals paid him what they paid him. But then you look into the cash, it's not actually that much. It's $6 million and $6.5 million next year. They could get out of it for $6 million in this win, like at the end of the season if it doesn't pan out, which they won't, or they can pay him $6.5 million next year. The Cowboys have got tons of cap. Cap isn't a problem for them. So actually, $6.5 million for a starting linebacker is not a lot of money, and they can easily absorb that. The 6th round pick is really nothing, as we kind of established. it's one of those win-win trades. I get it for both sides. I get why the Bengals are shit, and I get why the Cowboys are poor, because in that scheme that they're trying to put together, they haven't got a tackler since they lost Micah Parsons, who's going to be a bit of a game wrecker and who's going to actually sort of make tackles consistently at a high volume. And that's what we'll do. So, yeah, as you say, and that when you're trading in leagues, you shouldn't be trying to win trades. You should be trying to make both teams better and actually try and find ways around the strength from both sides. It will look a little crazy to everybody else, but as long as the two of you strengthen, you're thinking about total points in your lineup. Right now, both of you will end up with more points in your lineup after the trade than before the trade. That's the sign of a good trade.
Fantastic. Yeah, love it. Love the real life example. Yeah, I mean, 6th round pick for the Cowboys giving up. That's a steal for them. They gave up like a 4th rounder for like Trey Lance. Like they traded like the 4th as well for like Jonathan Mingo or something. Like, yeah, they've made some crazy trades. So yeah, that's like a nothing trade for them. All right, let's get into it. All right, as you know, it's a special episode this week, so we're not going to be doing our usual matchup breakdowns where we go through everything that happened in the league matchups last week. However, very quickly, we cannot forget to congratulate the incredibly well-deserved champion of the week, taking down this week's trophy with a high score of 168 points after missing out by 0.7 points last week. It is, of course, your humble commissioner, myself. Congratulations to me. An extra $10 will stay in my account this year. Thanks, Murph. And even more important, for the second time this year, our Poopy Football Award winner for this week goes out to Cassie and her Poopier boys. A sad 93 points. You'll find those 10 fake dollars in your account. Hope you make good use of them. All right, Murph, and just to give you some background there, this year brought in a new rule. Last place each week, you get 10 extra fab dollars, as long as there was no meddling or anything like that. You weren't actually tanking. So you get 10 real dollars if you win the champ of the week. You get 10 fake dollars, 10 fab dollars if you win the Poopy Football Award.
Love that. That's awesome.
All right. Last time, Murph, you broke down our draft, highlighting the best and worst picks from each stage of the draft. It's time to revisit these picks to see what has held up and what was way off. Good thing I wrote them down. You might have forgotten, but I shared them with you. And maybe for the last time this year, well, we'll see if we end up coming back to it at the end of the year. But I will flash our draft on the screen as well so that we're all seeing this. Here we go. Here's our draft board once again. And starting off, Murph, with your picks. We did the best and worst picks of the first 2 rounds, the best and worst of the middle rounds, and then some top late round flyers. So let's quickly run through those and let you know. Let's hear what you think of where those players stand now. So your best 2 picks of the first 2 rounds, according to our draft this year, were CMC, Christian McCaffrey, and Kyren Williams. So running back on San Francisco and running back on the Rams. How have those held up?
I think CMC obviously is whoever drafted CMC is obviously in a delightful position, and he's very happy to have Christian McCaffrey on their team. Is propelling them, and I think when I came back and I talked about Kyren Williams, it wasn't so much that I was projecting him to be like above everybody else. It was the value that he went. He went at running back 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So Kyren Williams is a top 12 running back. So I felt the value of getting him there is why I like the pick. I feel pretty good. He's not performed to the levels I thought he would, being perfectly honest. But I do think he'll have a strong second half of the season. And I think really now we're going to see what Kyren Williams is about. I think he was very, very good in week 9. I think you're going to start to see an increase in performance post-bye. And when that happens, especially as I don't think they'll want to lean on Puka Nacua as much as they did in the first half.
Yeah.
So, against the Saints, 114 yards and a touchdown, I think that's going to be a sign of things to come for him. So, yeah, I feel pretty okay with those picks. You'd say the CMC one is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the CMC,
like
right?
6 or 7, but given the value of where he is in the draft, and you given who went after him, Trayvon Henderson, Kenneth Walker, James Conner, Breece Hall, I mean, only James Cook really stands out as a player who
Right.
is excelling him
He's the
significantly.
only he's the only guy that's right. You would have wanted over him. Yeah.
And then you look at the picks before Chuba Hubbard, Amarian Hampton. And I think on the pod I did talk about I did like the Taylor pick. But
Oh
he
yeah.
was in line with where his value was, which is kind of why I didn't sort of call it out. But I did say I really liked the pick.
Yep.
But yeah, I think Kyron Williams is a solid pick. I'm pretty happy with that. It'd be easy to flip flop and say Taylor, but he was going where he should have gone.
No. There's the only hindsight here is commenting on your picks. Hey, you can't get everything. Right, and so. Yeah, and Kyron Williams, yeah, okay, so I wrote down the stats for our league. He's the RB13, 15.9 points per game. One, in terms of this is all average points, and so one spot ahead of his actual RB draft slot. And, he's one of those guys, you highlighted it in your tip, where he has been ceding touches to Blake Corum, probably in a good way this year, to actually sustain him through the end of the season. So I don't really expect him to fall off in terms of touches. And CMC, RB1 by far in terms of points per game in our league. In fact, 25.5 points per game. He's the number one overall non-quarterback player in our league scoring. So he's been the smash pick of the draft without a doubt. So excellent call there. Let's get into the next. Well, the next picks were the worst picks of the first two rounds. You don't have to comment on all these now. I will run through the four that you said. You highlighted Drake London, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, and Chuba Hubbard as the worst picks of the first two rounds. What do you think of these now?
I mean, Chuba Hubbard and Chase Brown look absolutely awful for where they've gone. So, that feels pretty nailed on. Josh Jacobs was
Chase Brown's luckily on the rise, so my team thinks that. But yeah, right now, Chase Brown RB22, Chuba Hubbard RB28. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel good where they are, and I felt they were overdrafted, and still feel even where they finished. They'll be overdrafted. Josh Jacobs is wrong. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is outperforming where he was drafted significantly and is proving good value. So take the L on there. Drake London's a strange one because it was kind of, if we did the show a week ago, we would have gone, yeah, I'm probably all right there. But obviously, Banks 3 touchdowns, and then his points per game shoots up significantly on the result. I think it's kind of I take that one as a push. I'd say I'd won 2, lost 1, and I push that one because I feel like he probably isn't the worst pick, but he's not. I still feel he was overdrafted for where he was and where he'll finish. So I feel like that it's a push. I think either side could claim victory. So let's just call it a draw.
Yep, sounds good to me. I mean, yeah, after you throw in that 3 TD week from Sunday, then yeah, that definitely inflated his average. Maybe you'd say it canceled out the low scoring games that he had. He is at wide receiver 6, 19 points per game overall, Drake London right now. But yeah, we need to seek some consistency. And of course, you would have rather had Puka Nacua one pick later. So I take your push. Let's move on to the middle rounds. Your best picks of the middle rounds. Now, I'll go through the names that you said. We had Ken Walker, James Conner, Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy, and Chris Olave as the best picks of the middle rounds. Some hits and misses here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean this is wild, right? So
yeah,
a lot of this. So look, we have to take the James Conner pick out because of the injury so soon into the season, right?
Yeah.
Kind of that happened. Tyreek Hill as well. Those two players getting season-ending injuries in the first 4 games of the season. You kind of take those out. Ken Walker hasn't been as good as advertised or what we thought would happen. And a lot of that is due to what's been going on with JSN. So, I take the L there. Alvin Kamara has been a bit banged up, and that team is a lot worse than advertised. I still think he's got to he's still got a role to play. But then I also would caveat that given that he was RB, what was he like, RB 22, 24?
Yeah, pretty late.
So he's
RB,
pretty
like
late.
RB 20, I think it was there in our draft. Yeah.
He's at RB 27 right now, and he's not that far from there. You're talking about like 10, 15 points off RB 20-ish. So I'd say it's a push, and it's not a great pick, but he is almost at value. Jerry Jeudy, he's a difficult one because it was picked on the grounds of Joe Flacco would be a starter for 13 games, and he's been launched out of town. Is now doing it with the Bengals.
Yeah, what a story, Joe
And so
Flacco.
if
Yeah,
someone had said to me that Joe Flacco was going to be gone and we were going to have Dylan Gabriel throwing the football, I'd been like, as a former, UFC or UCF alum, I'd seen Dylan Gabriel play at UCF. I'd seen him play at Oregon. Like as soon as he came in the lineup, I was like, I got rid of Jerry Jeudy everywhere.
yeah,
So big L there. The big win is Chris Olave.
yeah.
Chris Olave is outperforming expectations at a fairly good rate. And as well, it's a very safe volume. He's the wide receiver 9 on the season. And he hasn't had any particularly great. He's had one good week in week 7, but 12, 11, 15, 10, 12, 16, 40. It's been fairly consistent. He's not hitting your lineup and killing you. Like, he's not winning you weeks, but he's not losing you weeks. And for where you've got him, enormous value. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was
I'd
the
say
wide
there's a
receiver
big winner.
34 in terms of our draft board. So yeah, way later
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
So I think I've got a big winner, a big loser, a couple I'd offset to injury, one I'd push. I'll take the L on Judy. I think at the end of the day, I got it. I got it wrong, but I understand why I got it wrong. But
yeah,
it's
yeah. I know it
wrong.
makes sense. You gotta. I mean, I think it was still definitely a shot we're taking in the middle rounds. But yeah, he's the only one that really stands out. He's in terms of our scoring wide receiver 88 at 6 points per game. But I mean, yeah, he's
Yeah.
just completely fallen off. And yeah, shows Joe Flacco needs those true stars to throw to. Jerry Jeudy's not quite on that level. All right, your worst picks of the middle rounds were Tet McMillan and George Pickens. Obviously, George Pickens has done pretty well, but probably due to the CeeDee Lamb injury there.
Well, you say that, but he's also done well after the injury. So
That's true. Yeah.
again, he didn't start the season brilliantly, but then 6 points in week 1 and 17.8. Okay, that's good. Then he gets, when CeeDee Lamb gets injured, he gets another 17.8 point week, but he gets a boost because Lamb's injured mid game. Then he gets 33. He gets another 31 week with CeeDee Lamb out. So, his number is inflated. It's false. He's not the wide receiver 5, but ultimately he's better than advertised. And he's better than where he's going to go, where he was going in draft. So I happily take the L there. Tet McMillan, I feel like it's an L, but it's like an L plus.
Yeah.
It's kind of I'm wrong, but I'm not massively wrong. Like he's not shot the lights out. He's wide receiver 20. I think he went earlier than wide receiver 20. He went a lot earlier than wide receiver 20, if I remember rightly.
Yep. Yeah. 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 Probably. I think it was like about 18, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. I can do the counting.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh no, he was 20. So he's gone bang on bang. Okay. So yeah, I'll take an L. I thought he would be a little bit worse, but then I didn't think he would be like a bottom 50 player. Like I thought he'd be around. I thought he'd be wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 range, and he's bottom end wide receiver 2. Like, yeah, I'm wrong, but he hasn't been great either.
No, I mean, but he hasn't crushed you either, right? Yeah, he's been worse. He's a wide receiver 35 in scoring in our leagues, right? In our league, so that's significantly lower than where he was drafted, but not killing you at 12 points per game. So
yeah. So I think this of all the categories, this is the one I've got the most wrong for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, two guys highlighted, but yeah, these are tough picks in the middle round. I think overall, you did quite a good job on nailing some of these, especially the big ones. And for the late round flyers, we had some of your favorite picks in the late round. Some of these were actual, just like absolute last or second last round picks. So I'll quickly go through who you said. You said Bill Krosky-Marriott, Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Eilmenar, Cam Scatterbu, and CJ Stroud. So this was, not really any risk to these picks. And you've highlighted you managed to hand out some real stars here.
Yeah, I feel like if this is the area that I really nailed, I mean, I'll take the L on CJ Stroud. Before the injury, it wasn't going particularly brilliantly. I just thought that offense was going to be better, and it wasn't, and it hasn't been. So, fine, look, I take my L there. But the other 4, I feel very good on. Like, Bill is he is the running back 1 there. and his lack of points for being an RB1 is more down to the injuries to Jaden Daniels, but he's still massively outperforming where you drafted him. He's a real winner. Michael Pittman is the wide receiver 6. I always thought the Colts were better than advertised. I was well over the Colts. If you listen to my podcast, you would have heard me all season. I mean, to be fair, you'd have heard it last season as well,
Yep.
and I was a bit off, but I talked about Shane Steichen being a good coach and a great coach, and actually, if you give him a weapon such as we just get a competent quarterback who can execute what he wants to do. You don't even need a
Who would have
great
thought that
quarterback.
Daniel Jones was the difference?
No,
Yeah.
I called it earlier. I was like,
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, if he wins the job, would be the best thing for Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor
You
for
did. You
fantasy
did.
football, and
Yep.
I feel like it's paid out. I think Imanor, I always felt he would be the wide receiver one. Now we've got, maybe that will drop off a little bit, but that offense is bad. But still, he's a flex-worthy option every week. And Cam Scatterbo did break out, and it's an unfortunate injury that's ended his season. But we were on to a top 15 season for Cam Scatterbo.
He was hitting that. He was RB11 in points per game in our league scoring
Yeah.
until he was lost to injury. So yeah.
So I feel like, you know, I really hit it here with the exception of CJ Stroud. I'm pretty happy with what.
Oh, for sure. If you can nail 2 in the late round picks, 2 guys who end up being top 10 plays at their position, then I mean, obviously you've crushed it at the late rounds. So overall, excellent draft breakdown. And so we'll have to bring you on again next year to do it from the get-go and see how it goes. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Proven now. Now we finally fact check you and you have passed the test. So you'll be back. All right. And now, since we are, in fact, only 5 games left in the season, but that is still 5 big games, lots of time to make movement. In fact, with those 5 games, every team's got the possibility to finish 7-7. Every team's got the possibility to make the playoffs. But now is the time to make that move if you want to make that final push to get into the playoffs. Maybe you want to squeak in. Maybe you're trying to solidify your spot in the standings, or you're trying to prep a super roster for the postseason. So Murph is going to, with my timer, I've got my phone on the ready. We're going to do a max of 1 minute per team going in reverse order of the standings. Murph is going to make one move to make in 60 seconds or less for each team. So let's move over to the teams here. Here you can quickly see the flash of the standings. We got a bunch of teams sitting down at 2-7, starting with Golden Love Chubb. That would be Brent in last place right now at 2-7. The timer is starting. Murph, what is one move to make for Brent's team?
It's not really one move, but I'd be packaging Nico Collins and Dallas Goedert, and I'd be looking to get a handful of players back. More importantly, a quarterback. Just Jordan Love. He's been okay. He hasn't been great. He has got in his remaining games Philly, not a great game, Denver, and then fantasy playoffs week Baltimore. There's some really iffy games. He's got Detroit in there. He's got Chicago twice, which isn't a particularly amazing game either. He's got a difficult schedule. I'd be looking to get rid of Jordan Love here, as we've seen on you see his lineup this week. Not a great performance against Carolina. So I'd be looking to get Collins and Goddard. Maybe you have to flip Love in there as well. I'd be looking to get some wide receiver and running back depth in here and just kind of pad the team with. But the quarterback is the biggest piece here. You need to get a better quarterback in play because without that, you're going nowhere with this roster.
There we go. All right, get a better quarterback. Maybe give up your former star player who hasn't been performing as a star in Nico Collins. Moving on to our second last team, we've got Cassie's handsomer boys.
Wow. So here's a suggestion round. I think Cassie should trade Mahomes and get herself a wide receiver and running back. And sidebar, I think Cassie and Brent should do a trade. And the trade I'm recommending, I'm going to put this out here.
Unreal.
Mahomes, Rashid Shaheed, and Mark Andrews for Nico Collins, Dallas Goedert, and Jordan Love. And I genuinely feel this would improve both teams. I feel like Nico Collins would really help Cassie out significantly and really help her out. And Goddard will get extra points at the tight end position and really prop it up and offset the loss of Mahomes to Love. Whereas I actually feel that Mahomes and Shaheed will bring something to this roster moving forward for Brent and give them both a chance to get out of the basement.
Unreal. Love it. Say that one more time.
So Mahomes, Shaheed, and Andrews for Collins, Goddard, and Love.
Mahomes, Shaheed, and Andrews for Collins, Goddard, and Love. There you go. Listen to that, Cassie and Brent. Let's see if we can pull that off. If they do, I will let you know. Awesome. Let's move on to our third last team, still at 2-7. We've got the Kittle Titty Committee and Mike's team. What do you think of this, Murph?
Mike's in a lot of pain right now. He's obviously lost Hunter. He's lost Godwin. Godwin might come back, but
Yeah.
with no quarterback, no Jaden Daniels now, he needs a QB ASAP. And perhaps he wants to gate crash the trade with Cassie and trade for Mahomes. And I recommend he gives up Pittman and Charbonnet for a QB.
All right. Love it. Yeah. Pittman is somebody he got for me in a trade, in fact, and that was the big one for Drake London.
the problem with that is he hasn't got a QB to trade. So he's going to need to find somebody with two QBs. There's someone later on with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you're going to have to trade Pittman for. You're going to need a QB. You're going to need someone good. Hopefully, you can get someone. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'd be probably trading for Aaron Rodgers, given he's out there as a spare part.
Yep. Yeah. And our QB waiver wire is pretty thin, with a bunch of teams rostering two quarterbacks. Let's move to our 11th place team, our final 2-7 spot, but doing pretty well in points for. So definitely don't give up yet, Jason. And the Fear Boners, what do you recommend for Jason's team to make here, Murph?
Well, I think if you can trade Aaron Rodgers and maybe try and do a trade with Mike and try and get yourself Pittman, I think that would be really beneficial to you. I think as much as Mike isn't going to want to give up Pittman, you're going to need to give up something significant to help you get a QB. And Rodgers is one. There's also Bo Nix maybe after this week, or Danny Dimes with Nick. They, at the end of the day, going to need a QB. But going back to Jason, I'd be trading Rodgers. Teams need a QB. You can get a pretty good premium. If you can't get Pittman, you need something that's going to strengthen this roster. More importantly, at the running back position, I would say, because Mason might lose the starting job. You've also got Kyler Murray on your bench as well. He might be another one. If he comes back, you can trade as another asset as well. Like, you're hoarding QB.
Yeah, 3 quarterbacks now, with that Kyler injury. Yeah. I will say that Mike and Jason did pull off a trade last week, and it has not now. It doesn't look good for Jason at this point. Jason sent Justin Jefferson for Cortland Sutton and Tyrone Tracy. I think hoping Tracy would have a more leading role, but that didn't work out after the first week. So
it could step up. Like, it's a tough position to call right now, but yeah, that's a tough one.
You're right. It can still turn around. I mean, he was making the exact kind of trade you're recommending to increase that running back depth and get two good starting players. And didn't work out this week, but no, there's still lots of time for Jason. Let's move on to our fifth place team, jumping out of that fifth last place team. That would be 10th, jumping out of that 2-7 bracket up to the 4 and 5s. We have Je suis and Sarah's team. Murph, what's one move for Sarah to make?
Yeah, I'd be looking at this situation now thinking, like, you're really weak at running back. You've got Dowdle and Krosky Merritt, that's fine. You've got no insurance. Chuba Hubbard ain't doing anything for you. You can crawl the waiver wire, you can kind of hope, but at 4 and 5, you kind of need to make a move now. I'd be looking to trade out Jacoby Myers. If you can't get a flavor for Jacoby Myers, you probably then need to flip someone like Keenan Allen. You're going to need to get someone out to get somebody significant in at the running back position, and it's got to be done quickly. So you could try and like this week on waivers, there isn't anyone that's going to move your needle. Like, you're going to need to get someone significant. So look for someone who needs a running back. If you have to give up Keenan Allen to do it, I'd be prepared to do that.
Yep, makes sense. Love it. And I mean, there's a chance that we get Trey Benson back here on the team, and also if Jacoby Myers gets traded today. I think probably unlikely, but that could boost his value as well. Let's jump over to our 6th last place team, sitting in 9th place. We have Je ne sais quoi, our other French name here, with Christine's team also at 4 and 5. Just had a big win last week. What's one move for Christine to make?
Sell Devin Singletary right now. Just
interesting.
That New York situation is completely fluid. He got more touches than Tyrone Tracy. Can I say that's going to happen going out? I don't know. You've got teams desperate for a running back. I would just trade Devin Singletary, who you paid very little fab for, and try and flip for a very useful piece. Looking at the surface of it, a wide receiver would be nice. I don't think you need to get an exceptionally great wide receiver, but just a bit of depth. Hey, maybe Jacoby Myers for Devin Singletary could make some sense here as a particular trade, and maybe just offsetting a little bit of that risk that's on Sarah's team right now. So
Yeah, I like it. I mean, yeah, Christine was able to unearth at least a startable weekly player in Kyle Monungai, so it gave her a little bit of extra depth. Let's move on to our 8th place team into the winning record bracket now. Here's so I don't get fined. Scott's team. What's something that Scott should do?
I mean, your biggest asset right now is Trade McBride. I look at this roster, and you've got absolutely nothing at wide receiver. Literally nothing. No neighbors.
Scott did have, he lost Neighbors, and he was the guy who had Tyreek Hill and lost Hill. So that's where he's been running 3 tight ends on multiple weeks and somehow surviving.
Sure, which, I mean, it's great roster management. You can see who he's picking up off the waivers, but you can have no Cooper Kupp with a hamstring injury for a period of time now. Jerry Jeudy doesn't look like he's a player that you want to be picking up and starting most weeks. So, in effect, you've got no real wide receiver depth. The tradable asset here is Trey McBride. Go shop him for probably one very good wide receiver and one decent wide receiver. Someone who's going to be a startable flex option every week. I feel like that's going to give you the best platform. The other piece is just keep streaming those defenses. I can see that's what you're doing. Just keep streaming the defenses to boost some extra points into the line. But it sounds like Scott's managed a really terrible situation well, and it's basically just every week is just putting he's just trying to cope.
Just scraping those wins together, yeah. I mean,
which you know what, winning ugly is still winning, right? And
still
he's winning ugly right now. But I feel like you got to ship Trey McBride while you've got the window to do so.
Yep, love it. Moving on, we've got now 7th place, another 5-4 team. Nick's roster, Indiana Baker, who's been struggling with the Daniel Jones versus Baker Mayfield starts all year. What's one move to make for Nick?
No longer struggle with that and trade Danny Dimes and Juwan Johnson. You got teams that are absolutely desperate at quarterback, and you got teams absolutely desperate for tight ends. And I can tell they're the two positions he's flip-flopped every single week, where he's flipping Kyle Pitts and Juwan Johnson. He's flipping Daniel Jones and Baker Mayfield. You know, you can trade, if you don't want to trade Juwan Johnson, you could trade Kyle Pitts. I feel like Juwan Johnson's the better trade commodity. So I'd be flipping those. The starting lineup is really solid. The bench stuff, especially when you got Quentin Judkins, is good. But then when you think about what's left, Ike Omenor is a low-end flex play. You've got Johnson, who's not doing anything. Reed, he might come back and be something, he might not. Ridley, I think, is done at the NFL level.
Seems
There's
like
no real depth that's going to kind of save you. So if you want to win this league, you're going to need to pad out with a bit of insurance. And I think you don't need to worry about the tight end and quarterback position for insurance. You need to worry about your running back situation, especially when you've got Javonte Williams in there. And if they start to wind down Gibbs, you need to have a backup for that. Same with your wide receiver position, because they're all on the altar side.
There we go. Yep. Love it for Nick there. He's got some good moves to make. Let's move on now into the top 6. 2 more 5-4 teams. 6th place here. We've got my Johnson Hurts, Sean's team. What's one move for Sean to make?
I got 2. Wait a week, trade Bo Nix, sell Bo Nix for King's ransom. Can't do it this week because you need to get the buy out the way for Dak Prescott.
Yep.
But then the next is to sell Devonta Smith. I think for me, you can sell Devonta Smith and really pad out this roster with some significant pieces that you need. So I think you could flip those two. You've got a little bit of running back depth. You haven't got a lot of wide receiver depth. And also, get rid of your second kicker, man. You don't need 2 kickers. Come on. Get rid of
that's a weird one. Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
so
5 bench spots.
I'd go and hammer those trades out. And, you could do the Smith one this week. I'd go get Bo Nix a week later, go ship them out, and go get yourself some quantifiable depth, because I think this team is probably one injury, especially the running back position, is one injury away from busting out.
Yeah, looking real strong with some stars, but yeah, definitely sitting on the edge of a knife as well. Let's move in the top five, our final 5-4 team. We've got Gritty Committee, Brandon's team. What's one move for Brandon to make, Murph?
You just got to own the Raven Wire, man. I literally and he probably is trying as best he can. But I'm looking at this team. This dude's got no depth. Like that starting lineup's okay in a 14-team league, sure. I don't really think you can afford to sell any of those players, because you're not going to get a player that's going to replace in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
But you get one injury in that roster, and you were pretty much finished. So you need to either handcuff your own running backs, and if you can't do that, so like if you can't get Ollie Gordon, if you can't get you got Gainwell, so you've done that part. But you probably need to get some depth here because you've got no wide receiver depth, and you've got no coverage. I think you only got three wide receivers on the whole roster.
yeah, we got two Atwell here who's not doing anything, but yeah,
Yeah, I'm not counting well, he's
no,
on IR
no,
as
no,
well. So yeah,
definitely
I just think you've got to raid the wires and you've got to pick. I'd be streaming players every week off the waiver wire
whoever
and
you
literally
can.
just rotate that bench every single week, and
Yep,
stockpile it. You could probably get rid of someone like Devin Neal or it's definitely some RGP run you could definitely off, and just get yourself, like, if you can get yourself a Parker Washington. I don't know if he's owned. If
I
you,
picked him up on Saturday when I heard the
of
Travis
course you
Hunter
did.
injury. Yeah,
But yeah, you're going to need to get yourself some. I just did a waiver wire pod. You can get yourself some waiver wire picks this
yep.
week at the wide receiver position, and just keep streaming them every week.
Yep, Brandon's been running hot with Josh Allen and Puka Nakua. We're giving him a bunch of wins, but yeah, might not sustain through the playoffs. Into the top four, we've got now 6-3, our only 6-3 team. That one particular Harbaugh, our last year's league champion, Aaron. What's one move for Aaron to make, Murph?
So Aaron's got like the inverse problem where he's got so much like wide receiver depth, but hasn't got a ton of running back depth. So again, you've got Vidal right now, who's going to be great for a couple of weeks, but then what happens? Um, and then you're kind of really struggling here for running back depth. Maybe you package a couple of these wide receivers that you got lurking around to maybe someone like Brandon and try and acquire a running back here. The problem is I don't really see which running back you can go for because I don't think Achan and Warren are in play. Maybe you try and make a play for Harvey. Is that going to move the needle enough? I don't know. Maybe.
Risk
But
reward play to make for sure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that's definitely the angle, and you can package up some of these wide receivers to add some depth because you don't need to worry about the tight end because normally you lose Tucker Craft, you think I'm screwed, but you just move Sam Laporta up there and you're fine.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, you
Yep.
just need to package up these wide receivers and get yourself an RB because you were short of that position for sure.
Love it. There it is. Now we're into the top three. We've got 3-7-2 teams on top. Nobody with less than 2 losses. So it's tight on top. Starting off with third place, Crashy Rice. Eddie's team. What do you think of Eddie's team? What can he make? What's one move he can make?
I mean, if I could sell Dylan Sampson this week, I would, because there's definitely an opportunity that he could start this week, and players should be, will probably be liking that. You've obviously you got the tight ends in Gadsden, Taylor, so you're pretty set there. I would decide which one you kind of want to roll out for the rest of the season, try and flip the other. You've got Ollie Gordon, you could probably sell to the Devon Achan owner. Probably the same with Davis and the Cook owner. I'd probably be looking to flip a few of these assets on the bench. I don't think Sean Tucker's going to be doing you any good now, so I'd be rotating that out. So I'd just be trying to just get a bit more depth off some of these pieces, trade some of these sort of bench pieces. I wouldn't do too much with the starting lineup. It's good enough to compete and keep streaming those defenses as well.
Yeah, getting Rashi Rice back after still holding a pretty strong roster through those first 6 weeks. I mean, I think Eddie's team's looking quite strong. Into the top two now. Daniel's team. What do you have as a recommendation?
I mean, so deep at wide receiver. It's the deepest wide receiver roster on the board. And now you got Jalen Hurts back. You can sell Jared Goff for King's ransom. I'd probably be looking to sell Josh Downs as well. Those two I'd be looking to really flip for a King's Ransom. Also, don't have two Ds on your team. Get rid of one of those. Start using the waivers as blockers. You've got some space, so start attacking the running back spots. Start attacking the wide receiver spots, and start really blocking the people who are trying to get those pieces as much as possible.
Yeah, just 3 running backs on this team. So, just managed to avoid the big injuries, though. And now, in first place, myself, of course. What is one move that I should make, Murph?
You haven't got the killer running back.
No.
So you got a lot of. I mean, we have Bucky Irving potentially will fill that hole.
He's my hope.
You got Walker, who's a bit of a plodder. You got Chase Brown, who's again in the ascendancy. He's sort of getting better, but you've got a really deep wide receiver core where you've got players like Igbuka sitting around. Again, you also have 2 Ds. You need to sort that out. You probably get rid of New England this week, I would assume, and play.
I picked up Cleveland because they're on bye. I dropped Mooney. Pick up Cleveland in advance while they were still a free ad. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I would be looking at this thinking, okay, I would probably be looking to flip Washington while he's worth something as a commodity, and maybe Quinton Johnston, and probably flip those two and just strengthen yourself as much as possible because, the running back position is probably the one area of weakness on this team. So if you can get that sorted with a good depth piece, and again, there's a couple of good running backs available that you could make a trade for, I'd be looking to flip those and get that piece because I think if you sort that out, you're in a prime spot to go on and win this thing. You've definitely got the deepest roster, but that running back position could be the one that really just sort of kills you.
Yeah, no game changers at running back for sure. That's what I was hoping for with that Bucky Irving trade. Let's see if it holds up. Awesome, unreal. Everyone's going to love that. Let's see how many moves can actually be made there. And let's close it off with, let's look at the league standings one more time. In our final 2 minutes here, overall, on your last episode, you closed with who won and lost the league at the draft with some honorable mentions. I'll remind you of those picks for our champ and last place finisher again, now that we're 2/3 of the way through. Last time you picked post-draft Brent, who was too easy of a pick after that second round Jordan Love draft slot. Brent, who lost the league at the draft, and sure enough, he's down at the bottom. And Mike, the Kittle Titty Committee. I mean, he's been ravaged by injuries, but you nailed those both as who lost the league at the draft. I mean, they are sitting in last place. Who is your pick now to finish in last overall in the league at the end of the year?
Well, given that Brent drafted Jordan Love in the second round, if he's that wedded to him, then he will finish last for sure. But there is a pathway for him getting out. Mike, as you say, he's been ravaged by injuries again. There's a pathway to him getting out. But if he doesn't get that quarterback situation sorted this week, Mike will finish last for sure.
There we go. All right. Looking like it's either Mike or Brent, just from who was picked initially and, who won the league at the draft. And the obvious fantasy champ post-draft. You did pick myself and Daniel as your top 2 picks and gave honorable mentions to Jason and Sarah. Jason and Sarah sort of on the lower end of the spectrum, but myself and Daniel are sitting in top 2 right now. So somehow you nailed that as well. Perfect top 2 and bottom 2 pre-draft or post-draft, I should say. Who is your pick to win our league now?
I'd still stick with you, Ben. I think you've got the right pieces. I think you have the clearest pathway to victory and the most sustainable floor. It's where you'll get beat is a team puts a monster on you and you haven't got the running back power to do it. I look at that, and I think Daniel's pathway to do that is to flip Goff and Downs and flip those for a big moving piece. I think these rosters are very, very similar in where they can get to. I think I give you the edge right now, but I think Daniel probably has the better commodities, i.e. the quarterback to trade that could allow him to get over the top. So I'd say you right now, but if Daniel trades Jared Goff and gets himself a mega haul, I might change my position.
All right, absolutely. Well, obviously, I love to hear that. So thank you. And I will say it's a big week because it just so happens that myself and Daniel are playing each other this week, first for second. So that could really shake up the standings. But that's it. That is a wrap. Thank you so much, Murph, for coming on mid-season for the first time in the middle of the season. It is a pleasure to not just have you on, but also just talking ball with you. I absolutely love it. I love it. The league really appreciates it. Any last words for our league?
Just your league is awesome. I feel like I'm part of it. Anything I can do, reach out. Would love to chat and offer advice and help you get where you want to get to. So appreciate you having me on, buddy. I absolutely love it. And good luck for the rest of the season. I can't wait to see how this pans out. And also, it's nice to validate my own thinking. Like, it's always nice when you get to see the product of your work and go, "Oh, I weren't that far off. I'm all right with that." So, yeah, I'm pleased as someone from England to be able to predict something in fantasy football to a
In
relevance
this
and accuracy.
English guy predicting American fantasy football for our Canadian league, completely international here. And with that, good luck in the stretch run in your leagues, Murph. Good luck to everybody in our leagues. Thank you so much one more time for coming on. Thanks everybody for listening, and I'll see you all next week.